Please welcome Microsoft Chief Executive Officer, Satya Nadella.
Thank you for being here. Great to see you. Please. Would not have expected to see that, I have to be honest with you. It's been a long time.
Everything has a time.
Indeed. It's great to have you here.
It's my pleasure, Jim.
You know, obviously we have an announcement we'd like to make tonight, but I'd like to back up a little bit because over the last several years we've made a lot of progress together, whether it's SQL Server or .NET on our platforms, the work we've done around virtualization. We've actually made a lot of progress together. And so hopefully this doesn't come as a surprise to people, but we do have a more significant announcement we're making tonight in our work together with Microsoft Azure and Red Hat OpenShift. And you want to tell us a little bit about that?
No, first of all, it's fantastic to be here with all of you at the Red Hat Summit. And as you said, we've been working for multiple years now. And today, in fact, is the general availability of the Azure OpenShift service. So it's fantastic to see that out.
All right.
Yeah. In fact, it was really fun to come even meet with a bunch of customers who have really been the ones who really inspired us to come together, pushed us. For example, I think Deutsche Bank has been a big customer. We also have Sabre, Lufthansa, as well as one of the other things that I'm very, very thrilled about is bringing SQL Server to Red Hat and OpenShift, and I know EA is a big customer of that. And so it's just that customer scenarios that have really pushed us to do some phenomenal work, and we're very, very excited about it.
Now that's fantastic. Are there some use cases that you find particularly interesting?
I think the one that was just mentioned was a great use case, which is I think we're big believers in distributed computing and hybrid computing. The cloud, the edge, and the flexibility it provides any customer. The ability to be able to use, for example, in the previous Deutsche Bank case, to use the GPUs and the FPGA inference capabilities alongside this hybrid support, to me, is probably the thing that helps any customer get the best out of their infrastructure. The other one that I'm seeing a lot of is the CI/CD pipeline, especially in terms of the agility. For example, if you take the work, let's say you're using GitHub and GitHub Enterprise, your ability to sort of set up your CI there and then use CD to OpenShift, either on the cloud or on-premise or any other cloud even. So the ability to have that level of productivity for developers as well as have the IT productivity, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, we've seen just such great examples, as you said, whether it's being able to expose functionality like GPUs or just being able to place the workloads at the appropriate place at the appropriate time. There's so much power in having a common infrastructure stack that runs across environments. And you're driving a tremendous feature velocity on Azure, and our ability to expose that to customers, whether they're on-premise or running anywhere they want to, but they want to expose that functionality. I just hear great things from our customers.
Yeah, I mean, one of the
it,
things that we
phenomenal.
really try to focus a lot on, even on the public cloud side, is get our data centers to meet the real world needs of our customers. I mean, we have a lot of customers who are regulated industries. How do we make sure that, for example, all of the certifications they need, whether it's HIPAA or whether it's financial services regulations or what have you. So that's a big focus of ours. And that brings down the friction, right? So for anybody who's trying to deploy a workload, you have the guarantee that we do some of the work in order to be able to lay down the tracks for how they can get the workload up onto the public cloud. Also, the number of regions. We just launched our first data center regions in the continent of Africa, and it's awesome to see how all of this infrastructure is globally available.
No, it's amazing to see. And again, I think as you talked about some of the customers, is data residency is becoming so important. Being able to build an application once, but recognizing you may need to run it in 20 different geographies, and how can you do that in a consistent infrastructure is a real power of the model of us working together across that. So I guess stepping away from OpenShift, which we're really excited about, I mean, you spend billions of dollars a year in R&D. You've made huge investments, whether it's .NET, Windows. You have a long history of innovation. and you also have an incredible seat to see what's happening in technology today. What most excites you right now that I think people in the audience should be aware of?
I would say, I think about technology on three fronts. But before I go to technology, I'll say that what excites me the most is this amazing data piece I saw recently out of LinkedIn, which says the number of software engineers being hired outside of what is considered the tech industry is going to be higher, and it's going to forever be higher than the tech industry. That's phenomenal. What it means is software is becoming a new factor of production in every industry out there. That's probably the most exciting thing. And obviously what that means is computing and the computing architecture is fundamentally changing. Everything from storage to network to compute. What's happening in the cloud and the edge. We're also excited about sort of taking what is today's cloud architecture to the next generation, all the way to quantum.
Right.
But there are many, many stops between now and then as well. That's exciting. The other one that I'm excited about, obviously, is AI. It's stunning to think about. Let's take even just language models. Applying even deep neural nets to language models and the kind of properties you start seeing. Machine reading and comprehension, for example. I never thought I'd be sitting, talking about the fact that machines can really try and understand human language as competently as they are beginning to, which is pretty phenomenal. Speech and vision aside, I think language is that final frontier, and we're making real progress. And then the last one to me is augmented reality or mixed reality with HoloLens. It's just amazing to see what is happening to architecture, design, and even gameplay. And so to me, all of these three layers of compute, architecture, AI, as well as the ultimate user experience is the experience which is just in front of your eyes, and that's the mixed reality.
So I have to ask, I'm sure it's a question everybody in here wants to know, do you have like a discount code on HoloLens? Because I think a lot of here...
We have a developer edition we just announced yesterday. It comes even with Azure credits, and so maybe you can run some OpenShift workload and tie it up to HoloLens.
I'm sure people are going to be trying to do that tonight. So yeah, I think you brought up a really important point around more developers are being hired in non-traditional technology companies than in technology companies. The way we talk about it at Red Hat is this concept of user-driven innovation, that innovation can happen really anywhere. And so as IT vendors, we have to some extent, be a bit more humble and say, okay, how do we bring value to the table, but how do we integrate technologies that are coming from a lot of places? And ultimately, I think that impacts all of us as well as we think about hybrid cloud, because how are we thinking about where and how technologies run? And obviously, we're doing a lot of work together around hybrid cloud. What are your thoughts, in terms of what's really necessary to make that a reality for our customers?
I think the thing that truly needs to happen is how do we get two things? How do we ensure that the cost structure of the raw infrastructure and the innovation platform is something that makes every business out there competitive? That's sort of the number one thing. I think all of us having the interoperability, support for open source, support for standards is going to reduce the friction for anyone trying to innovate. And so that's, I think, our job number one. And that's sort of a lot of what is the spirit behind our own partnership. But the second area I think we have to do is, today, for example, take AI. A lot of AI is considered to be things that a few companies in a few countries have. We just have to get past that. We have to truly democratize it. For us, for example, we're a tools company at the core. So to me, be able to say, okay, here is a no-code solution for doing machine learning is a pretty exciting thing. How do we really think about machine learning DevOps so that there is greater productivity around data science? That's the type of innovation around tooling that is required so that anyone out there can start taking some of the best technology and build their own technology. I call it sort of tech intensity. Adopt good latest technology, but most importantly, create your own technology. But let us, as platform vendors reduce the barriers to doing so.
Okay. And look, let's be blunt, I think 5 years ago we had, I guess it would be polite to be called an adversarial relationship. And I mean, it's just amazing to see how much progress we've had together. And I think that's on both sides, a real desire to serve our customers. And we found such great ways to work together. Any thoughts on how we think about this partnership in the future?
I mean, to me, we are very, very committed to the partnership because it's driven by what I believe is fundamentally what our customers expect of us. They expect of us to do the things which is really interoperate, be committed to open source. For example, in our case, it's not just the partnership with Red Hat, but the fundamental is the actions, the deeds of what are we doing in terms of contributing to Linux, what are we contributing to Hadoop, what are we contributing to Kubernetes, how are we bringing .NET to open source or VS Code, or how we continue to be great stewards of GitHub. I mean, I think that's really what we are very committed to. But in the context of what we've gotten started, I would love to see the feedback. Even today was one of the most encouraging things for me is I got sort of this list of features that they want and are pushing us. And I think that's what's really going to be at the core of what is going to be our strategy and our commitment to this partnership.
Well, look, we are so excited about it. You've already seen customers like Deutsche Bank, even before we got this done, have been all over it. And so I'm so excited to see where we can take this going forward. And it's just been great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.